Hey, 6th grade! We're here again on Wednesday doing some artwork. So before you do anything else, I want you to go to my updates page and like my update so I know that you read it. Then head to the yellow folder on the materials page that says Wednesday 11/18. Take a look through here. We have a daily task list I'd like you to do, and then scroll down to composition. I want you to think about, what are some things about composition that we already know based on our narrative art? We know that we can organize things in a shape. We can draw our attention to certain things based on how you organize lines and shapes in that composition. And then today we're going to kind of learn a different rule for composition for a still life for our drawing project. So there are good and bad compositions, and the rule of thirds is a guide to help you make a really good composition. Watch this video. It looks a little dated, but I promise there's some great information, and if I could have a windmill in my backyard, I'd make the same video. After you watch the video, take a look at some of these images. These are where the rule of thirds should be. So basically this is where objects are lining up where these lines. This grid helps you make focal points and eye paths, which are vocabulary terms. So a focal point is the area where a viewer's eyes are naturally drawn. You think of when you're doing this image as you're telling a story with your objects. Where is the main character, or where is the focal point? What do you want people to look at first? Then the other vocab word, eye paths, is the action or path the eye takes when moving around a work of art. So think about it as like how the story progresses. What do you see first? What happens next? What happens third? We're kind of taking a trip around the artwork. So with this example of this dog looking off into icebergs, our eye most of the time will naturally be drawn to the dog. Now it's very purposeful that they put that on that intersection using this rule of thirds. This dog is right there. We look at it first. Plus it's kind of close. It has a lot of detail. Then you could either go down its legs with your eyes. That eye path is taking us down and looking across the rocks. Or you might be interested at what the dog is looking at. So your eye path might go out to the glaciers and then off to the left or to the right. So it's basically, as long as it's traveling around the picture, we're doing okay. If we go to the next one, our focal point is the thing that pops out the most, which right here is obviously the lighthouse. It's big, it's detailed, it's obnoxiously painted with white and red. So our lighthouse is right here. That's drawing our attention. So as you see this, our eyes naturally go to what it's connected to, which here is the land. Our land stretches out here to the left to see clouds and a seascape. If your eyes get drawn to the big open area because of the color, that's not wrong. It's just different, and it's okay. Your eyes are still moving away from the lighthouse, which is important. If that lighthouse is right in the center, your eyes might get stuck there, and that's not what we want. For these next couple, you personally think about, where do your eyes go first? Maybe the pears, maybe the vine. Where do they go second? Do they go around into the bottle? If you start the vine, do you go up and then go to the pears? Or do you go to the pears first, travel up the bottle to the vine? Or do you go to the pears first and then to the vine and then to the bottle? Anything's okay, but we know that your eyes should probably be moving around based on different lines, different shapes. These two next ones, I want you to figure out where you go first. Now this one will reoccur in our next activity. So to go over what these things are, there is a hanging piece of meat. There are a couple of vases, a spoon or a ladle. There is some sort of pot. I see some strawberries or tomatoes, some sort of fruit, nuts, some sort of like spice container, and some sort of ladle. So those are some of the items that you might want to talk about in the next activity. So if I scroll back to the next activity, this is kind of like, it's like a tiny quiz, but it's kind of open-ended. So if I go in here, this is what you will see. Click on Start New Attempt, and it will say, look at this artwork of hanging meat, fruit, and kitchen tools from the 1700s. Answer these two questions. 1. What is the focal point? The first thing that draws your attention. So I just want one word. What's the focal point? Just name one of those objects. 2. where does your eye path take you after looking at the focal point? So once you name your first thing, I want you to name the next two things that you see. Down here at the bottom, there is a space to type your answers, and then you can review answers or submit them or whatever it says on your iPad, okay? I'll be able to check those so that I know that you're picking one thing out and then your eye will be traveling around the image, okay? So that's kind of like a little checkpoint to make sure we're doing okay. Then the next thing I like you to do, number 3, says organize 3 objects you would like to draw in a close, interesting way. Okay, so on your own, pick some objects, okay? I have a picture here of a gnome and some flowers. These are my objects. Down here it says how to use your iPad camera for the rule of thirds. So there is a grid on your camera. Super cool. You can use your tool that's right there. It's like they knew we were going to learn this or something. So please make sure you're looking at number 3. Look at that. Watch the video. Turn on your grid before you take your picture. 5. Make sure that you're using the rule of thirds. So we looked about it, you watched the video, you thought about it, you answered the checkpoint. Now it's time to actually take a picture using that grid or using the rule of thirds. Don't center things. That's not the point here. We want to line things up using the grid. So if you look at my gnome is not centered. My gnome is using the grid. Okay? When you're finished taking your picture and you think you have a good one, or if you have 2 or 3 that you want me to take a look at, I want you to stick those pictures, 1, 2, 3, however many you want in there, into composition photo with the rule of thirds using your objects. This will be what we use for our drawing project. So don't delete the picture off your iPad and pick one that you really, 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 really like, or 2 or 3, and stick them in here so I can look at them and I can give you feedback and prepare for our Thursday lesson. All right, so if you have any questions, send me a message on Schoology. I am here to help you. But it's a learning day, as well as you're just taking 1 or 2 or 3 pictures. All right, let me know. Have fun.